Hi there, it's Ina here and welcome to my art room. Thank you for subscribing to my channel and please click the bell icon to receive notifications of all my regular uploads. Well, first there was one and now there are two. I just had so much fun working in this altered book on the right that I decided to make another one. Now they are a little different in size but equally chunky, and they are full of interesting details and quite different to each other. Now, if you have not seen the journal I just set aside, please go below and follow the link and take a look. But now back to my new journal here. As you can see, it has a fabric cover, a pretty decoration on the front, and I will post all the details about this journal in two parts. Now today in part 1, I will show you how I altered the book in order to get it ready for me to work in. I will also show you some details about the signatures I added, and then also how I put the fabric cover together. And then in part 2, which I will upload very soon, I will give you a flip through of all the pages I created within this journal. So I started out by picking a salvaged and damaged children's book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I took all the pages out and was left with a very bright red cotton cover, and then took a piece of neutral cotton fabric and covered the inside as well. Then I gessoed both sides to get them ready to be painted. Then I started on some details. I have these close tags. These are just a variety of interesting shapes and sizes, and after I gessoed these, I glued them to the front of my inside cover. Now, some of them will just be for look and interest, but the one where I added the circle tag will be a little tuck spot. This, of course, needs to dry really well, and then I will go on by painting a base coat. I used just diluted acrylic paint in teal to cover both sides. Now, initially, I also decorated the outside of the cover with paint and sprays and texture paste and so on. And you can tell by the way my poor hands look right now. I always tend to make a mess with sprays. Anyway, the initial cover didn't make it, and I switched it out in favor of a fabric cover, which I much prefer. So here I'm blending more color just using a sponge, and I'm going for kind of a grungy look. Then I add some very simple stenciling, first with some copper paint, and then also with black and white acrylic paints. Now I'm using very simple designs here because I know that this area will get covered up with some more decorations I have planned. Now there are many different ways of altering a book. Last time I kept my book intact and just glued the original book pages together for extra strength. This time I took them all out to make room for my own signatures. I decided to make them out of simple cardstock, and I used 2 double pages for each of the 4 signatures, plus a very slim page. And the slim page will act as a little base to attach any inserts I may want to add to my journal later on. Now, after I clip them and I mark the holes and I punch the holes, I use very sturdy thread and a needle, of course, to sew these in. Now I went ahead and I sewed in 3 of the signatures, but in a way that the end of the string is not in the middle of the signature, but in between the signatures, because the middle of the signature is often where I want to do a double spread, and I prefer not to have to work around those strings. Now, whenever I sew signatures in, I like to secure the end of my string so it doesn't follow me. And of course, if I want the ends of the strings to end up in between the signatures, I have to start sewing from the outside of the signature, as you saw me do. And then I just go back and forth until I end up where I started. I know this is a bit choppy and a bit quick because I didn't intend for it to be a thorough tutorial of how to sew in signatures, but there are many videos available on the subject if you're new to this technique. And now, of course, I just tie up the ends, which is quite easy to do outside of a signature. And everything is done and ready to be worked in. Next, you will see the spine, 4 rows of 4 stitches each. And then this is about 3 weeks later when I was done with most of my pages and pockets and so on. And as you can see, it got pretty filled up. Now at this point, I was sure to change the outside and rather make a fabric cover. And here are some of the details. I started out with a piece of cotton fabric the size of my cover and lots of different colored strips of fabric. I then pinned them in place and sewed them on my sewing machine. Next, I added 4 strips of lace and sewed those as well. I also went around the edges with a zigzag. Now, is it completely straight? No, it isn't, but it worked out just right. Then I went ahead and attached a little figure in the front just by some simple stitching right around her waist. That way she wiggles a little bit, and also I have the option to change it out should I change my mind in the future, which I sometimes do. And next I took my gel medium and glued the cover onto the book, and you've seen me do this many times before in some of my other journal videos. And that's pretty much the last step I took to complete this journal. And as I said earlier, part 2 will be up really soon, and there you will be able to see the inside. Now, I called this an art journal, junk journal hybrid because I like the aspects of art journals, of course, but I also like junk journals. I like the pockets, I like the tuck spots, but I personally don't write into journals. So I wanted to make a combination of the elements I enjoy in junk journals and add them to an art journal. So a hybrid was born. See you for part 2. Bye bye for now.